could be said to be thinking at all. He was brooding about his mother. At this phase of his life, he found himself becalmed, without direction. His temporary job for the Institute did nothing to alleviate this inward feeling that he had come to an uncharted crossroads. It was as though all his psychic mechanisms had petered out, or stood idling, undecided whether to venture this way or that, under the force of some vast prodromic unease. Resting his chin on his knee, Bush stared out over the dull expanse of sea. Somewhere, he could hear motorbikes revving. He did not want anyone to see what he was doing. He jumped up and hurried across to his easel. He had walked away from it in disgust. It was farther away than he remembered. The painting was no damned good, of course. He was finished as an artist. Maybe that was why he could not face going back to the present. Howells would be waiting for his report at the Institute. Bush had drawn Howells into the picture. He had tried to express emptiness, staring out at the sea, working with flooded paper and aquarelles. In mind travel, such primitive equipment was all one could manage to carry. The heavy colour came flooding off the ends of the pencils. Bush had gone berserk. Over the sullen sea, a red-faced sun with Howell's features had risen. He began to laugh. A stunted tree to one side of the canvas. He applied the pencil to it. "Mother figure," he said. "It's you, Mother. Just to show I haven't forgotten you." His mother's features stared out of the foliage. He gave her a diamond crown. His father often called her Queen, half in love, half in irony. So his father was in the picture too, suffusing it. Bush stood looking down at the canvas. "It's masterly, you know," he said to the shadowy woman who stood behind him, some distance away, not regarding him. He seized up an aquarelle and scrawled a title to it. Family Group. After all, he was in it too. It was all him. Then he pulled the paper block from the clamp, tore off the daub and screwed it up. He folded the easel small and stuck it into his pack. The sun shone behind Bush, over low hills, preparing to set. The hills were bare, except along the riverbed, where runty little leafless xylophyton grew in the shade of primitive lycopods. Bush cast no shadow. The distant sound of motorbikes, the only sound in the great Devonian silence, made him nervous. At the fringe of his vision, a movement on the ground made him jump. 4 lobe fins jostled in a shallow pool, thrashing into the shallows. They struggled over the red mud, their curiously armoured heads lifted off the ground as they peered ahead with comic eagerness. Bush made as if to photograph them with his wrist camera, and then thought better of it. He had photographed lobe fins before. The legged fish snapped at insects crawling on the mudbanks, or nosed eagerly in rotting vegetation. In the days of his genius, he had used an abstraction of their viridian armoured heads for one of his most successful works. The noise of the bike ceased. He scrutinized the landscape, climbing onto a bank of shingle to get a better view. There might or might not be a cluster of people far down the beach. The ocean was almost still. The phantom dark-haired woman was still. In one sense, she was company. In another, she was just one of the irritating ghosts of his overburdened brains. "It's like a bloody textbook," he called to her mockingly. "This beach, evolution, lack of oxygen in the dying sea, fish getting out, their adventure into space, and of course, my father would lead religion into it all." Cheered by the sound of his own voice, he began to recite. His father was a great quoter of poetry. "Spring, too long, gongular."